Hello and welcome to Nothing But the Truth. My guest today is no doubt one of India's most prominent Muslim politicians, but he also has an unrivaled reputation for saying the most incredible things. Earlier this week, he claimed that everyone was born a Muslim, but later some converted to other faiths. That was the latest in a long line of bizarre, or what some would call offensive comments. So why does he say these things and how does he justify them? Here to tell me is the head of the All India Majlisi Ittihadul Muslimin and Hyderabad MP, Asaduddin Owaisi. Mr. Owaisi, let's start with what you said on Tuesday the 6th in Bid, Maharashtra. You said all are born Muslims and are converted later. Every child is born a Muslim. His parents and society convert him to other religions. Now that's neither factually accurate nor is it logical. So how do you explain this nonsense?
I'm sorry, sir. Please don't call it nonsense, because this is part and parcel of an Islamic faith of all the Muslims. What I have quoted was the sunnah of what the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had said. And I've also quoted in my speech that there is no compulsion in religion, which the Quran says. I am not at all saying that if you're a Muslim, you're a nationalist. I am not at all saying that if you're a Muslim, only you will be a loyalist of this nation or you can get a ration card. In a public meeting which was held to celebrate the birthday of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, I had said this, that this is the Islamic belief. You have all the right to disagree with me, and I'll respect that right.
Let me point out to you that Islam has a very finely developed concept of kafirs. If everyone is born a Muslim, who's a kafir? Aren't you ending up making a nonsense of your own faith when you insist that everyone is born a Muslim?
I have stated that everyone who's born is a Muslim, and it is the society and his parents. This is what the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has said. And I said there is no, and you are a master of your own free will. Now, whether you become a believer or unbeliever, it is up to you.
Oh, no, it's actually much worse and much more complicated than you're suggesting. The world has 1.6 billion Muslims, which means that out of a total population of 7 billion, 5.4 billion are non-Muslims. They believe they're non-Muslims, that you're turning around and saying to me that even those who consider themselves non-Muslims are actually Muslims. They simply were converted to another faith after their birth. Now, I put it to you once again, that is arrant nonsense.
No, that is not. That is my Islamic belief. You have all the right to disagree with me, but I would once again request you to please don't demean it by saying it's nonsense. It is my belief. What would you call to a person, let us say the Jews say that Prophet Adam was a Jew. The Jews have their own teachings and the belief. The Christians have, the Hindus have. And in fact, you were the one who wrote an article about the Prime Minister. You were the only senior journalist written about it. That there are people in India who claim that 7,000 years ago we had plastic surgery, we had stem cell research, 200 feet aircrafts were there which flew from one planet to another planet.
Can I interrupt you? You're arguing my point for me.
I am not at all calling them nonsense or demeaning them. Whether it's Christianity or Judaism or Hinduism
making my
or any
point
religion.
For me, sir. I said in that article you're quoting that the position the Prime Minister had taken, that Ganesh proved that India had mastery in mythological times over plastic surgery, or that the Mahabharata hero Karan proved that India had mastery over genetic surgery, that this was in fact arrant nonsense. It was unscientific, it was unproven, it was false. And you're now quoting that to actually make my point, not yours. You're arguing against yourself.
No, you had quoted the Prime Minister, and I remember very clearly, if my memory does not fails me, you even added Article 51 of the Constitution, which talks about promoting scientific temperament. Please, Mr. Karan Thapar, also remember that the Vice President of India no lesser person than Mr. Hamid Ansari had said that India has 4,600 castes, communities and religion.
But come
and
back.
India cannot become a homogeneous country. I have all the right to practice my faith and to propagate my faith under Article 25.
But I'm
you have
pointing
all the
out
right
to you...
to disagree with me. You have all the right
Mr.
to disagree
Owaisi,
with me.
I'm pointing
but
out
please, I would
something very
request you that
specific.
you disagree with me.
I'm pointing out something very specific about your faith. Your faith considers non-Muslims kafirs, it considers them infidels. That's a very finely developed concept of Islam. If everyone is born a Muslim, who's a kafir?
You are going around with the Orientalist meeting. What is the meeting? Even the South Africans under the regime of white supremacy used to call other people kafir. So what do you call them? We are saying that this is my faith. You disagree with me.
They were taking an Islamic term and misusing it. It doesn't mean to say the term has changed meaning.
And in my belief, come what may.
Okay, let me put this to you. You insist that all children are born Muslim. You insist that all people are born Muslim. That's identical to Mohan Bhagwat, who says that all Indians are Hindus. Now, when Mohan Bhagwat said all Indians are Hindus, you sharply criticized him. And now you turn around and say something equally outrageous and atrocious by claiming everyone in the world is a Muslim. Do you not realize that actually your statement undermines your principled opposition to Mohan Bhagwat? You're contradicting yourself.
No. Let me tell you why I disagree, and I don't disagree with your question at all. Am I joining it with India's nationalism? What Mohan Bhagwat has said, he has quoted the IRSS ideology. Mohan Bhagwat is quoting from bunch of thoughts written by Guru Gulwalkar, wherein in chapter 5 he says that the Muslims and Christians are internal threat number 1 and 2. That is the ideology
you're being unfair
RSS
to
which
Mohan
Bhagwat has quoted.
You're being unfair to Mohan Bhagwat. I'm not supporting Mohan Bhagwat, but you're being unfair to him.
Talked about Hinduism.
No, Mohan Bhagwat was actually basing his argument on a different claim. Mohan Bhagwat's argument was based on the claim that before Indians became Christians or Sikhs or Muslims, they were all Hindus because Hinduism is the original religion of this country. That's the basis of his argument, not Golwalkar. And you're saying something equally strange. You're saying that all people, when they're born, all children, when they're born, are born Muslims. Even when they're born into Jewish families, Hindu families, Christian families, Sikh families. And I put it to you again, and forgive the use of that word, I don't mean to be naughty or nasty, but this is arrant nonsense because A, it's factually untrue, B, it's logically inconsistent, and C, it flies in the face of reality. That's why it's nonsense.
Fine, it is up to you to use all those terms and meanings which will satisfy your ego. Fine, this is my belief. I take pride in that and I'll stand by it.
Let me put something else to you. I know you to be an intelligent man. I'm not for a moment questioning that. I therefore ask you, was this in fact intended as a poor joke or as silly satire? Has it backfired? Were you intending to speak tongue-in-cheek, perhaps mockingly in some strange way of Mr. Bhagwat? And has it backfired on you? And are you now boxed into a corner where you're defending what you didn't really mean, but what was only said tongue-in-cheek?
I am thankful to you for patronizing me, which I don't want you to patronize me by saying I'm an intelligent man. But what I had said to you earlier, this is part of my faith and belief. I stand by it.
All right. You ended that speech in Bede with something else that I want to quote to you. You said, all said and done, it has also been proved that the media loves me. For the last 2 days, I was there on each and every channel. I got so much attention, I felt I was a newly-wed groom. Did you say this simply to attract attention to yourself? Was this a ploy to get into the front pages and the headlines?
Why have you called me?
Because you said something outrageous. And in a sense, you're proving my point again when you ask that question, aren't you?
No. I mean, you want to call me and then you ask me this question. The TV channels have called me. I have said that for each and every speech of mine, TV channels are calling me. I welcome it.
Absolutely, but did you say this because you knew that if you said it, they would call you? You knew that, in a sense, people like Karan Thapar would want to question you. You'll have 25 minutes on national television. Was that the purpose?
No, I didn't ask Karan Thapar to call me. In fact, Karan Thapar had phoned me many number of times and told me to come. That is why I've come. And that speech in Beed that was made, it was national TV channels who wanted me to come, and that is why they made arrangements for the OB van to send from Pune to Beed to cover a distance of 400 kilometers. I didn't ask for all these things. You wanted me, I've come.
Let me put this to you. The level of contradiction, inconsistency, and, forgive me using that word again, illogical comment goes one step further. In Beed, you also called for reservation for Muslims. Now, if all are born Muslims, if every child is born a Muslim, and those are your exact words, who do you want reservations for? Do you want reservations for everyone in the country?
Can you please enlighten me, as you are a very knowledgeable person than me? Please, what is Article 15 and 16 talks about? And could you please also enlighten me, why is it that the 1950 presidential order says that a Dalit can only be a Hindu, a Sikh and a Buddhist? Isn't that based on religion? And the third point is, Mr. Karan Thapar, that in the Mumbai High Court, after many years, the courts have said that the Maharashtra Muslims can get 5% reservation in education. No, please allow me to complete. Maharashtra Muslims can get 5% reservations because of the empirical data which shows their social and educational backwardness. You have a government in power, despite the courts allowing it to give reservations to Muslims in education.
But you ignored the point I'm making, Mr. Owaisi. I'm not making a point about whether reservations for Muslims is justified or not. That's not the point I'm making. I'm saying, if you begin your speech by identifying every child born in the world, not just in India, but in the world as a Muslim, and then you ask for reservations for Muslims, you're making a pretty meaningless statement, because all you're saying is you want reservations for everyone. And this is what I'm saying. Once again, you're caught up in a logical inconsistency that arises from the nonsense statement.
Not at all. That is an understanding of yours which is wrong. I have said that reservation to Muslims.
And you also said that all children are Muslims, that everyone is born a Muslim, every child is born a Muslim. So you're saying the same thing. You want reservations for everyone.
That is part of my faith. I stand by it.
All right.
I have said that people who are Muslims, who are socially, educationally backward, which the Maharashtra High Court has allowed, they should get reservation by the ruling party in power of Maharashtra.
Let's take a break at that point. When I come back, I want to raise other things that you've either definitely said or reportedly said, and ask you about them, whether they were wise comments for you to have made, or whether you now have a cause to regret or at least to distance yourself. Join us in a moment's time. There's a lot more still to come. Welcome back to Nothing But the Truth, where we're questioning Asaduddin Owaisi about things that he's either reportedly said or definitely said. Let's come to another statement that you've made, because unfortunately, this is not the first time that you said things that people believe are illogical, inconsistent, foolish or silly. In September 2014, posters appeared which allegedly, purportedly had the following quotation from you: Hindus should not consider Indian Muslims separated from their fellow Muslims of Pakistan. If India dares to attack Pakistan, 250 million Indian Muslims will join the Pakistan army to wage war against India. Are those really Asaduddin Owaisi, the MIM MP's sentiments? Is that what you believe?
I'm really sad, Mr. Karan Thapar. I am one of the persons who look forward to keenly watch your program, and this time around your research staff have done a very pathetic job, to say the least. Because the people who have printed that pamphlet, the Jammu Kashmir Monitor newspaper, which was carried by oneindia.com and also by Samna newspaper, I have served a criminal defamation notice on the Kashmir Monitor newspaper and oneindia.com, which they came forward and apologized that this is a wrong news, wrongly attributed to me. The Samna newspaper have not yet apologized, and anyone who's going to say it, even if it is Ms. Karan Thapar, I will take you to courts and make you pay for such wrongful statements, which is questioning my nationalism
you're
towards
getting
this country.
slightly carried away with your rhetoric. Do you remember my question? Do you remember my question? No, Mr. Owaisi.
And if you had asked Mr. Sudhir, who represents your headlines today, he would have told you that what Asad is saying is absolutely right.
Mr. Owaisi, you're getting carried away. I deliberately phrased myself very carefully because I'm aware of the action you've taken. I asked you, are those really yours? Oh, Mr. Owaisi, you must let someone else speak.
You don't ask such irresponsible
No, I'll tell you in a moment's time why I asked the question. If you give me a chance to explain, the reason I said purportedly your quotation and
what I object to your questioning is, why do you even for 1 second have an iota of doubt?
I'll tell you, that's what I'm about to explain.
Why?
That is what I'm about to explain. Mr. Owaisi.
I mean, why do you stereotype me?
I'm not stereotyping you.
You are more loyal because you are Karan Thapar and I am Asaduddin Owaisi and I'm less loyal than you. Please forget about it.
No.
I am as loyal, if not more loyal than you.
I'll tell you why I asked the question and why I phrased it the way I did. And if you recall my wording, you may not have forgotten it because you've spoken so much. I said purportedly your quotation. And I ended by asking, are those really your sentiments? And the reason I did it is this, because they're fairly close to what your brother said a year and a half ago when he said Muslims need 15 minutes without the police to teach 100 crore Hindus who's more powerful. Those were statements your brother made. They were seen on video on television, and they're fairly similar to what this quotation claims you said, which is why I asked, are those really your sentiments? Which is why I used the word purportedly, the quotation is yours. And I repeat my question. The views of the two are quite similar. Do you stand by it?
Now let me answer. No TV interview or an interview with any print media is over without bringing Akbar's name. I'm thankful to you for doing that formality, completing that formality. Now, as far as that speech is concerned, unfortunately, he has been the only politician to go to jail. You had an ex-Prime Minister saying that his dharti ko samtal hona padega. He has got Bharat Ratna. You had a great leader from Maharashtra who's no more in this world who called Muslim at Laddes. And all the TV channels telecasted his funeral live. You had a statement, ek dhakka aur do, Babri Masjid tod do, no action. You had various statements made by Vishwa Hindu Parishad and various political leaders like Mr. Ajit Pawar that if you don't get water, should I urinate? Please show me any of these political leaders have gone to prison, have been arrested, but yes, Akbar came down from London, he was having a health checkup over there, he surrendered himself to the majesty of law, and the law is supreme. I am sure the courts which have done justice to Mr. Amit Shah for an interim period and done justice to Varun Gandhi, I am sure the courts will do justice to Akbar as well.
All right, I hear your answer, and the point I note is that in fact that quotation is not yours. I'm glad to hear you also say that you differ from your brother's position, although you haven't quite said it as clearly. But I'm glad to hear that is implied from the answer.
And don't ask such questions which questions an Indian's
The homework was done perfectly. The question was asked simply because I wanted to check whether the views expressed in that alleged quotation...
You would have also known that a public apology was carried in newspapers and on the web. So I'm sure your research team has completely missed it either deliberately or because of their slackness.
Let's move on. There's a video of yours on YouTube dated the 5th of June 2014 where you say of Mr. Modi, जो हमको कुत्ते का बच्चा बोल रहा था वो कुत्ता है, उसकी नस्ल कुत्ती, सब कुत्ते. Is that a comment that today as an MP you're proud of?
Mr. Modi, as a prime ministerial contender, had said, made a statement that अगर कुत्ते का बच्चा भी गाड़ी के नीचे आ जाए तो वो क्या है? And I remember you doing a program wherein at that time you were in a different TV channel and you had criticized him. So I would not take it lying down if someone calls me a kutte ka bachcha, main insan ka bachcha hu. I'm not, you cannot use such derogatory terms against anyone.
Surely you should rise above that, not lower yourself to the same level. That's why I asked the question. Was this an error on your part? Did you fall into some sort of lapse of judgment?
Now, one thing I can assure you in your program that inshallah I will rise.
Well, I hope you will rise because, by the way, you have to rise pretty hard. In January last year, you asked Muslims not to watch Salman Khan's film Jai Ho because he had called Mr. Modi a good man. And I put it to you, isn't that a level of pettiness and silliness that an MP should not lower himself to?
But don't I have freedom of expression?
Of course you do. But surely you should think carefully about what you express.
Why do you call it pettiness? No, this is my freedom of expression. The whole world has freedom of expression, and as an Indian, I have used my freedom of expression. It is for the people of India to either accept it or to call what you call it trash or nonsense, whatever it is. But this is my freedom of expression.
You have enormous freedom of expression and no one would deny it. But the question is when an MP uses his freedom of expression to tell people not to watch a movie because the actor has called Narendra Modi a good man, people say that's being petty, that's being silly. And I put it to you, should you really invite that sort of comment about yourself?
That statement which I had made, I stand by it. And let me tell you why I made it. Because this so-called big film star had said that his family or his sister is very safe in Gujarat. No one talks about what I said after that using of that sentence in my speech. I said if that is the case, how is it that Ishrat Jahan was assassinated? How is it that the Best Bakery offense took place? How is it that many Muslim women were made homeless? Now this was made in that context. And thank you for asking me.
Well, let me put this to you. I've talked about at least 3 comments made by you in the last 1 year that people have deemed silly and foolish. One which you say you never made, although it sounds very similar to what your brother said, but let's leave that aside.
Mr. Karan Thapar, if you go on harping about a statement which I have not made, you are exposing yourself to a criminal criminal defamation.
I said you haven't made it.
By innuendos, and in a very subtle way, you are sending a message through your program that Asaduddin Owaisi is disloyal to the nation.
No, I'm not sending that message. I'm not sending that message. I'm asking you something else. Are you prone?
You have all the right to disagree with my statements, but you have no right whatsoever to even give a subtle hint, to use innuendos.
I am not using innuendo. If you allow me to finish my question, you will realize what I'm trying to do. The question is a very simple question. I'm asking you, are you in the habit of speaking? Mr. Owaisi, are you in the habit of speaking and then thinking afterwards, of being rash with your words? Because when you turn around and claim all are born Muslims, every child is a Muslim, when you were taught in the language that Mr. Modi uses by calling Mr. Modi himself a kutta, or when you say don't see Salman Khan's films because he called Mr. Modi a good man, people say these are foolish things for an MP to say. And I therefore ask you, and here's my question, are you prone to thinking after you speak? Are you prone to being a little rash? Are you prone to being intemperate? Do you sometimes say foolish things and regret them?
You can try these psychological games with Mr. Modi, who walked out of your program and he has never come on your program again. So I think you should try these games with him, not with me. But yes, I make whatever statements I have made with all the responsibility. And Mr. Karan Thapar, please remember that 3,000 people didn't die under my rule.
Absolutely. But what I do remember is this, that you're a respected MP, that not just the Muslims, but the city of Hyderabad looks up to you. Do they admire you when you say these, what I call foolish things? Or are you worried that perhaps behind your back they laugh at you and say, he's a good man, but he's a clot. He doesn't know when to open his mouth, he doesn't know when to shut up. Are you worried that people say that about you?
Mr. Karan Thapar, I am more worried of what I have to be answerable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when I die and go from this world. I am more I am worried about how I discharge my duties and responsibilities which the people have imposed on my weak shoulders. And I am a small person, I am a fakir, I am a servant, I am a khalandar. I am not, you're trying to make a big person out of me, I'm not like that. And if people think about me, I'm honored. Even if they think about me in that way which you're saying, I'm honored.
Well, I will add one other thing. I want to thank you for watching my program so closely, for reading my columns so carefully, for remembering them so accurately, and for so cleverly using them against me.
I'll continue to do so.
And I'm grateful to you for this interview, and particularly grateful that you took up my questioning in good spirit, and I'm glad we're ending this interview with a smile.
Thank you.
Good luck, Mr. Owaisi, and thank you for speaking to me.
Thank you.